Hello there, everyone. This is John Shada. Hey, I wanted to talk a little bit today about what it would look like to take up the cross and follow Jesus. He said, if you want to be my disciple, you must deny yourself, take up your cross daily, and follow me. So what does that actually look like? How could we really know if we're taking up the cross or not? I don't believe he wants us to drag around a hunk of wood, a wooden beam, so it's got to look like something. So I believe I want to give you a little demonstration with a scale here that would help us to understand what it might look like to take up the cross. And so I want to begin with explaining, in case there's people that don't realize what the Old Covenant and the New Covenant look like, how they differed. But so God gave the Ten Commandments to Moses, and and they were passed on to the children of Israel. But there ended up being hundreds of commandments. But the Old Covenant was all about keeping the commandments, keeping the rules, keeping the laws, doing certain things, and they did their very best, but it wasn't adequate. And so God instructed them to bring an innocent animal, shed that animal's blood, and the blood was offered for the forgiveness of their sins, or for the temporary forgiveness of their sins. Anyway, they were only forgiven temporarily because it wasn't a permanent solution. It was just a prophetic picture of what was to come when Christ came and died on the cross. So this was the Old Covenant. It was all about balancing the scale, keeping the rules, following the rules. And justice was measured by a balanced scale. So Jesus said things like, you have heard of old. It was said of old, an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth. So if someone got in a fight and got a black eye, then the other guy got to punch him and give him a black eye. And so it was all about getting even, balancing the scale. And so that's how the Old Covenant measured justice and righteousness. But the New Covenant is different. Jesus came to introduce the New Covenant, so he kept every law in his life. He had no faults, he had no sin. So he was able to lay his life down as a freely given gift. And we see that his life, his blood, his payment was weightier than that of the animals. And so the scale went clear to the bottom. It didn't just balance, but it went all the way to the bottom. So this is a picture. See how the scale no longer moves? That's a picture of the Old Covenant being put out of force. The weapon the enemy would use, see, the enemy uses the law as a weapon against God's people. So his weapon has been jammed or deactivated. So he can no longer use the law as a weapon against God's people who use the cross as their standard. And so the cross ended the Old Covenant and started the New Covenant. So now Jesus says of things like, if I offended someone and they smack me to get even, he said, turn the other cheek and let them smack you again. So this would be a New Covenant way of dealing with an offense. The law would deal with it here. The one smack would be good, but you see the scale bouncing, that's a picture of the law remaining active in our life. So the enemy is still armed. He can use the law as a weapon to accuse and harass and condemn. So, and we want to apply the full value of the cross by adding that gift. And so the scale goes to the bottom. We keep the devil disarmed against us, and we enter into kingdom realities. Here we're living by the legal standard of righteousness. Just taking that first smack, legal justice, legal righteousness. The enemy still has a loaded weapon, so we disarm him, or we keep him disarmed. Jesus did it on the cross, but it's not automatically ours. We have to follow his instructions to do for it to become a reality in our life. You know, the law was given to the old man of flesh and blood. The new covenant was given to the born-again spirit man, the new creation man. And so he lives by the Spirit. And so if we're thinking in the natural, when Jesus said, hey, go that second mile, or turn that other cheek, and let him hit you again, you'll say, well, that doesn't make sense. Why should I do that? Why should I take double punishment? You know, it's like, I already got smacked. What he's saying is, I want you to use the New Covenant standard, and when you do, you will experience New Covenant realities. If you're going to live by the Old Covenant standard, you're not going to experience the New Covenant realities. And so, by turning the other cheek and allowing that person to hit us a second time, the enemy is disarmed, the law is deactivated, we move out of the realm of law into the realm of God's kingdom, where we have superior realities. And so Jesus used another illustration. You know, he said if someone obligated you to go with them a mile, we go the first mile, we meet the obligation, we don't skip that part, but we go that second mile as an added gift. That's equal to the cross. So this is what it looks like for us to take up our cross. It's going that second mile, turning the other cheek, taking a second smack. And when we do that, we add a gift. We add a gift to our obligation. We've met the obligation here by going the first mile. We add that gift of the second mile. It takes us out of the realm of the law into the realm of grace, because grace is a gift. And so the law is deactivated, the devil is disarmed against us. We enter into new covenant and kingdom realities, which are superior to the earthly realities of the law. And Jesus used one more example. He said, if I offended someone and the law required, or the judge required, so if I offended this guy and he took me to court and the judge said, hey, give your coat, Jesus said, add a shirt, add a second garment. It's basically the same principle. That added gift equals to the cross. Take up your cross, use it as your standard for measuring righteousness and justice. So this is the standard of the cross, the measure of the cross, is that adding that second garment takes the scale to the bottom. That's a picture of the law being deactivated and the devil being disarmed against us. And we move out of the earthly realm of law into the heavenly realm of God's kingdom, where we experience supernatural realities. You know, like, for example, Jesus was in the boat with the disciples when the storm blew in, you know, and he's asleep on the cushion, and they're all freaking out because the wind and the waves, the boat looks like it's filling up with water and it's going to sink. So they're thinking, man, then we're going to the bottom. We got to wake up Jesus. Don't you realize, Jesus, that we're about to sink? Well, he gets up and he rebukes the storm, but then he says to them, where's your faith? You know, he was experiencing a kingdom reality which is superior to the earthly reality. He was sleeping while they were freaking out. He was at rest while they were just all like a cat on a hot tin roof. And so they weren't experiencing the same experience he was. And so this is how we enter in, or that to be an example of us entering into a kingdom reality. We would not be shaken, not disturbed or freaked out by things that that are happening in the world, storms and disturbances and all that. It's not going to freak us out if we're experiencing kingdom realities. And so there you have it. Take up your cross, follow me. I hope that makes sense. I'll just go through it one part of it here one more time. He says, if someone obligated you to go with them a mile, he said, go the second mile, because this, if we're good with this, we'll be just living in the law. If we go that second mile, it's the added gift that equals the cross. It deactivates the law, disarms the devil, takes us into the kingdom realm. See, but Jesus did all this for us with his death on the cross, but it's not a reality automatically for everyone who believes in Jesus. We have to follow his instructions because, you know, like I said earlier, the natural man cannot receive or understand the things of the Spirit. The second mile and the second garment and all that that's of the Spirit. And the natural mind will, like, I don't know how to handle, I don't know, that doesn't make sense. I just kind of like put it aside. And so when we put that aside and we don't act on it, we don't do it, then we remain in the law realm and we don't experience these superior kingdom realities. So by going that second mile, giving that second garment, we enter into the superior reality of the kingdom as the devil is disarmed, the law is deactivated in our life, and we rise above, you know. I could go on and on, but I don't want to give you too much to think about right now, so I have more videos covering similar things, so you can always watch other videos or watch this one over and over if you want. So I'll let you go for now. We'll talk again another time. God bless you. Bye-bye.